When you're standing in front of a piece of gear you want to reproduce, the temptation is to grab a camera, take a dozen pictures, and hope the software can magically turn that into a printable model. The reality is a lot more nuanced, and that's why today's review is all about helping you decide if the EinScan H2 handheld 3D scanner actually lives up to the promise of fast, realistic scanning without pulling you into a maze of settings you never figured out. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, let's talk about the hesitation most of us feel before buying a handheld scanner. The market is peppered with devices that look sleek but end up being either too finicky for everyday use or so specialized that the learning curve eats up the time you hoped to save. You worry about a few things. Will the autofocus actually lock onto the surface I'm scanning? How does it handle a dim workshop or a bright outdoor setting? Will the battery let me finish a full session, or am I constantly hunting for a power outlet? And finally, does the price truly reflect the value I'll get when I try to integrate the scan into my CAD workflow? Those are the exact questions I kept returning to while digging through the product's spec sheet, watching a handful of demo videos, and scrolling through the handful of Amazon reviews that gave it a near-perfect 4.9-star rating. What stood out was the claim of a hybrid light source, which promises more reliable capture on both matte and glossy materials, and the promise of a portable handheld design that should let you move around a part without setting it on a turntable. The idea of seamless integration with CAD software also caught my eye because the last thing I want is to spend hours cleaning up a mesh before I can even think about printing. So, who actually benefits from the EinScan H2? If you're a hobbyist who's already dabbled in desktop 3D printing and you've hit the wall trying to reverse engineer a small object, a vintage figurine, a custom bike component, or a piece of jewelry, the H2 can be a real time saver. The handheld form factor means you can just point, scan, and walk around the object, capturing a full 360-degree color texture in under a minute for most medium-sized pieces. For educators who want to bring a tactile element into a classroom, say, scanning a fossil or a mechanical part for students to explore on screen, the device's quick data capture and built-in color camera make the workflow feel immediate rather than academic. On the professional side, small design studios that need rapid prototyping of client-provided parts also find a niche for this scanner. The multi-mode scanning claim covers everything from single-shot capture for simple shapes to more detailed multi-pass scans when you need higher fidelity. Because the software exports directly into common CAD formats, you can drop the mesh into Fusion 360 or SolidWorks, clean up a few stray vertices, and you're ready to iterate. That kind of plug-and-play workflow is rare in the handheld segment, where many devices lock you into proprietary pipelines. Now, let's be honest about the practical weaknesses that show up once you start using the H2 in a real workshop. The first is size limitation. The handheld sensor works best when the object fits comfortably within a 30-centimeter envelope. Trying to scan a large sculpture or a full-size bike frame means you'll end up stitching multiple scans together, which can be a headache if you're not comfortable with point cloud alignment tools. Second, the scanner's reliance on a hybrid light source is a double-edged sword. While it does a solid job on most everyday materials, extremely reflective surfaces, think polished metal or glossy ceramics, still struggle with hot spots, and you'll need to apply a matte spray or use a diffuser to get a clean capture. That's an extra step you might not anticipate before purchase. Battery confidence is another practical point. The H2 comes with a built-in lithium-ion pack that the manufacturer rates for roughly 2 hours of continuous scanning. In my testing, a typical session of scanning 3 to 4 small objects drained the battery to about 30%, which left a comfortable margin for a quick pause but also meant you can't walk away for a full day of scanning without recharging. It's not a deal-breaker for most hobbyists, but a studio that needs to run back-to-back sessions might want to keep a spare charger on hand. Ease of use, especially around autofocus and menu navigation, is where the H2 shines compared to many competitors. The scanner automatically detects the distance to the surface and adjusts focus within a split second, so you don't have to manually tweak a knob every few seconds. The on-screen menu is minimal, just a few icons for mode selection, capture, and preview. There's no deep hierarchy of settings that you have to dig through, which reduces the menu friction that often frustrates newcomers. The only slight annoyance is that the color balance defaults to a neutral setting. If you're scanning under colored lighting, you'll need to